disgust seems to be a huge element of this, and it is a primary response by orderly people to the violation of moral norms. Now, here's something weird. There was a paper published in PLOS One about a year ago, and what these people did was they did, I think, a within and a cross-country survey. And this wasn't in developed countries. So the question was, how much infectious disease was there in each of these geographical locales? And the next question was, how right-wing were the people who occupied those areas at the individual level? So they weren't interested in what the government was like. And what they found was that the correlation between the prevalence of infectious diseases and right-wing authoritarianism at the individual level was 0.6. It's like, and if you know anything about statistics, when you see 0.6, you just fall over and hyperventilate, because that never happens. It's an effect size it's bigger than 99% of the effect sizes that you'd ever encounter in the social sciences. It might be 99.9%.
That's a negative correlation between...
Higher the infectious disease rate, the more right-wing totalitarian the population. Why? Well, why do you think? They're regulating interpersonal contact and sexual behavior. Why? Well, think about it. You know, they're trying to minimize disease transmission vectors fundamentally. Now, they're not trying to do that. You know what I mean? It's an adaptation. Keep yourself out of contact. Keep yourself isolated.
It's like a psychocultural adaptation.
Yeah.
Because it takes place within a generation.
Well, I don't know. I don't know that, you know, because in lots of those places there have been infectious diseases for a very long period of time. So, but anyway, so that's all very unsettling information, because it sheds a... So what it implies, and this is quite cool, it implies that the best way to control right-wing authoritarianism is to instigate effective public health policy. So if everyone has a sewer and a toilet and there's no infectious disease, there aren't any right-wing authoritarians anymore, because they're not necessary. Now, that might be an overstatement, but it also might not be. You know, it's definitely one of the prerequisites for the kind of stability and productivity that's characterized the West, is that all of our cities have functional sewer systems and everybody has a toilet. It's like, it turns out that makes a big difference, especially when you don't have one.
Also, is it fair to say that what you could call disgusting conditions actually bring out the totalitarian in you generally?
Well, it should. It should bring it out. You know, and I'm a reasonably orderly person. You know, if I go into a place that's chaotic, especially if it's chaotic and filthy, I have a really, really powerful impulse to tromp around until it's fixed. You know, because it just strikes me as things are deteriorating in a bad direction around here. You know, so, and I wouldn't say that one of my most outstanding characteristics is orderliness, but it's up there. I'm a reasonably conscientious person. So yeah, it's a visceral response. And the visceral response is something needs to be done about this. You know, and you can see how that's associated with conscientiousness. So we've been trying to figure out what makes conscientious people motivated. Because conscientiousness predicts life success. It's like, well, are they interested in what they're doing? No. It's dutifulness. Okay, so why is that a motivator? We're thinking that what the conscientious person wants is not to slide into the disgusting bottom of things. So imagine the hierarchy, okay? Top is pure, bottom is contaminated. Why? Well, I can tell you one reason. If you take a given geographical locale, this is even true for songbirds, and you rank order the denizens of that locale by their dominance position, and then you let a pathogen in, the animals die from the bottom up. Right. So the bottom of the dominance hierarchy is where all the pathogens hang out. And so if that's disgusting and it's morally impure and you're bad if you're down there, which is really a conservative viewpoint in many ways, it's your fault you're there, right? And I'm not going to be there no matter what. And so I think what the conscientious person is doing is fleeing the bottom. They're not trying to get to the top, except that that's the farthest away you can get from the bottom. And that's a purity motivation. Now, we don't know that yet because we haven't been able to figure out how to motivate industrious people in the lab. So, which is weird, right? Because conscientiousness predicts life success, you'd think that you could find a task in the lab that conscientious people would do better than non-conscientious people. We've tried dozens of things and not been able to do it. So now we're trying to make people embarrassed and ashamed and see if we could get them to like donate more to a charity if we do that. Based on the idea that what's motivating the conscientious person is a flight from contamination. It could easily be. So it's quite mind-boggling. Like it was a twist I'd never forecast in my conceptualization of these things. But the underworld, you know, it's a place of chaos and fear, but the underworld, that's hell. It's full of sulfurous odors, you know. It's not only terrifying, it's also disgusting. And it's associated symbolically with disgusting elements of the body as well. So, and purity, obviously sexual purity, for example, is certainly a hygiene purity admixture. And it's flight from contamination. And no wonder, right? I mean, there are sexually transmitted diseases. It's like a major vector of disease transmission. We saw that with the AIDS outbreak. You know, without airplanes, there wouldn't have been any AIDS outbreak. You know, jet planes plus promiscuity, it's like bang, you know. We almost generated a virus that took down the whole planet. So it's no joke when these things escape from their little box. You know, you might say, well, why aren't people allowed to have the sexual life they want? Well, the relationship between disease transmission and promiscuity is exponential.